Today is the 10th anniversary of Despicable Me's most iconic prequel movies of all times, Minions. It came out in theaters on July 10, 2015, on Friday. When I was 16 years old after my 16th birthday back on July 8, I'm getting ready to see Minions since I've been waiting for this since forever. And I wanted to see it. This movie. I've been waiting for this for a long time to come out since after the release of Despicable Me 2. Anyhow, so I went to see this in theaters, and this is the first time I saw this on the opening day on Friday, July 10, 2015 with my family. And I watched the rest of the credits and stay seated and see the bonus scene for the first time. Anyways, the story begins when the minions are searching for their master, some greedy and despicable villainy masters they wanted. A T-Rex or a caveman, and the Egyptians, or Dracula or Napoleon, or other villains, but they accidentally killing their own masters by accident. However, the minions have no other choice but to keep moving, and they found sanctuary at the snowy cave. And as the time went by, the minions were helpless and depressed. If this continues any longer, they will perish, but not for long. The minions, Kevin, Stuart, and Bob decided to go out there to find some villains in the other world. And their journey begins. As the long journey wasted, they arrived in the United States, here on New York City. And they managed to find somewhere to find help. But first he put on the new outfit and some blue overalls and clean silver goggles and black boots. And that's how the minions were supposed to look like that. But not yet. But the story didn't finish yet, but as long as they went to the store and saw the commercial of the villain con, they saw a female villain named Scarlet Overkill. The minions decided to go to Orlando, Florida, and Comic-Con. So they continued their journey and headed in the middle of nowhere, and met the evil family named the Nelsons. And Kevin, Stuart, and Bob join on the quest with the Nelsons because they're going to Florida too. Later at the snowy cave, the minions waited, and they were still felt depressed. But unfortunately, one of the minions found a Yeti that could be their master instead. Since Kevin, Stuart, and Bob haven't came back since their long journey. Meanwhile, the minions arrived in Orlando, Florida. Kevin, Stuart, and Bob said goodbye to the Nelsons and looking for a new master they wanted to work for. And then they went to the stadium and saw Scarlet Overkill. And Scarlet dares the villains to take the ruby so they can get a job. But then the villains tried to beat her, but it's impossible to stop her. And she defeated the other villains, but she was not pleased that the villains can't prove themselves worthy. But then she had a bear, Tim, instead of her ruby. But it was Bob who got the ruby, and Kevin Stuart helped Bob to spit out the ruby. But just then, Scarlet Scarlet decided to hire Kevin, Stuart, and Bob to become their new master. And they're headed to London, somewhere in England. Meanwhile, the other minions were celebrating with their new master, the Yetis, with their fun and music and sounds. but they accidentally killed one of the Yetis by accident. The same thing happened, just like the other previous late masters, which angers the Yetis, forcing the minions flee to evacuate the cave. Later, they arrive in the castle, and Scarlet forming a heist plan for Kevin, Stuart, and Bob to steal the crown from Queen Elizabeth II. She wanted to become Queen of England instead of her, and she wants the crown. And the minions knew the penalty if they fail, but Kevin, Stuart, and Bob won't let that happen. The next day, they arrive at the palace, manage to take care of the guards, and take care of the old man guarding the crown. But then the crown was taken by the guards, and the minions follow them, and manage to get the crown and steal it from Queen Elizabeth II. But unfortunately, as the cops manage to capture Kevin and Stuart, Bob pull out the sword, managed to attack, but unfortunately, the sword just got out from sword into stone. And the police officers and the people of England bowed down before Bob. And Queen Elizabeth gave the crown to Bob. But until Scarlet realized they're stealing her destiny, and Scarlet herself was not pleased. Meanwhile, with the other minions, the minions managed to go find Kevin, Stuart, and Bob's whereabouts. As long as they leave in the snowy world, they headed to Australia and other worlds to find where Kevin, Stuart, and Bob is at. Meanwhile, at the Queen's palace, King Bob was ready to announce the world that he shall make the rules and laws. And Kevin, Stuart, and Bob were having fun. But unfortunately, it was interrupted by Scarlet Overkill. She was so angry that they betrayed her. But the minions begged them for forgiveness. But unfortunately, the butler interrupted them because they cannot give the crown to someone. Those are laws. And Bob decided to change the law and give her his royaltyship to Scarlet Overkill as the Queen of England. And just then, Scarlet accepted an apology, but unfortunately, she tricked them and sent them to the torture room with her husband, Herb Overkill, and trying to torture them, but unfortunately, it's too impossible. But Herb left the dungeon to help out Scarlet, leaving Kevin, Stuart, and Bob behind. They managed to escape and found the flowers from the funeral and replaced the words "sorry for your loss," say "sorry, Scarlet." And Bob found the Lipucci, the rat, but Kevin can't allow him. And they managed to stay focused to give Scarlet an apology, but unfortunately it didn't go so well as the candlelights fall beneath her. She survived, and she ordered the villains of Comic-Con to capture the minions, and the chase commenced. And the other villains captured Stuart and Bob. And Kevin arrived at the bar to find Queen Elizabeth II and saw the news that Scarlet captured Stuart and Bob with the help of the VillainCon villains. Kevin was shocked, and he has to save Stuart and Bob fast, and decided to go back to Scarlet's castle and taking out the weapons, but unfortunately he's been followed by the VillainCon villains and accidentally activated the grow machine, growing Kevin large and destroyed Scarlet's castle completely. And Kevin was now the giant, which caused the other VillainCon villains to evacuate and retreating in panic, never to be seen again. And he rescued Stuart and Bob from the dynamite and bombs, and Scarlet battling against Kevin. But however, the minions found Kevin, Stuart, and Bob. And as the battle continued, Kevin swallowed the lava rocket missile, and managed to catches Scarlet and Herb Overkill, and it exploded. Stuart, Bob, and the other minions mourning their loss of Kevin, and Stuart found Lippucci the rat for Bob. But unfortunately, their mourning was interrupted when they hear Kevin has survived, growing back to his normal size. Kevin was the hero. And later, Kevin, Stuart, and Bob were honored by Queen Elizabeth II for their good deeds they have done. And since after King Bob's became King of England for 8 hours, since yesterday. But unfortunately, the crown was stolen again. It was Scarlet Overkill, but unfortunately, her escape has failed when she and Herb Overkill got freezed by a freezeway. It was Gru, the little boy, and he took the crown from Scarlet Overkill. And she told Gru that she was the greatest supervillain of all time, but Gru disagreed and managed to go back home with the crown. And so that Kevin, Stuart, and Bob and the other minions decide to go work for Gru. And Bob give the small crown to Scarlet Overkill and say goodbye to her one last time. And they follow Gru, and they wanted to work for him. And that's how that's how the minions wanted to work for Gru. And that's how the movie concludes. So yeah, I saw the movie, and I honestly loved that. And I'm very grateful I got to see this movie just in time. Well, almost 5 years ago, I was originally being excited to see Minions: The Rise of Gru celebrating the 10th anniversary of Despicable Me. But unfortunately, that dream was cut short when the movie was delayed and because of COVID-19 and all the movie theaters are closed during the coronavirus. And later in 2021, the movie was delayed again and rescheduled to July 1st, 2022 instead. I was so bummed out when it happened. So unfortunately, despite this, I must stay focused watching different movies instead. That way, that can help me avoid the pain. So I felt great. So I'm very interesting to see Minions: The Rise of Gru, the same thing in theaters on Friday, July 1st. The same thing I did since Minions back on July 10, 2015. So let me know in the comments and subscribe. And let me know if you love Minions. And that way, it's my favorite movie of all time. This is Minion Fan 1024 signing off.